Hi, everybody. My name is Nicola, and welcome to my interview with Ty and Nora from Ener-chi Wellness. They are senior true quantum healers and are known in the true quantum healing community for taking on difficult cases. Many true quantum healers also go to them for advice due to their knowledge on a vast array of subjects. They are masters of making orgone, and they also offer intuitive support, coaching, and training services. So Ty and Nora, thank you for accepting my offer to interview you. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Great.
You.
We're glad to be here.
We appreciate you too.
Oh, thank you. So tell our listeners a bit about yourselves. What was your awakening experience and what brought you to where you are today?
You woke first. You go.
It was a very stressful upbringing for me, where my mother and my father were in constant war and violence. And so that triggered me at 3 years old to have a really deep awakening of my surroundings, and spirits, ghosts, demons, you name it. And so, but I also was very lonely because people didn't understand me. Plus I had all the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then with time came, I met different people that were into witchcraft and different styles of magic. They understood more things than me, and they were able to teach me a few things here and there as I grew up through the time. Because in Mexico, it's very common to have a witch doctor or a witch in each corner of each block. And so the kids were always like, let's go down to the witch doctor and get a cleaning. Stuff like that, there's a lot of different types of ceremonies and things like that that I was able to understand when I was really young. And then I had another awakening with Ty in LA. And that one was extremely painful, but also very needed because we needed to leave LA right away. We were running with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. And then up to now, 10 years after that, we realized that we needed to start doing quantum healing because we had these abilities. And no matter what we did, we were going to be addressing people's demons regardless. So we needed a system so we could protect ourselves and to make sure that the information is passed both ways correctly and not just be a whole bunch of gobbledygook of the demons taking over and manipulating us. So, and then that's it. 10 years of healing.
Yeah, in the space of a couple of minutes. Yeah. And how do you think that your experiences growing up in Mexico and, everything you experienced is helping you now today with true quantum healing?
It really gives me clarity, peace of mind, because I think if I didn't have that reference that people in my past were already addressing energies and working with magic, I would probably feel like I'm going crazy. Because sometimes when you have this awakening, you feel like you're going crazy. Oh my God, I could see a spirit, or I just saw a shadow. Mm-hmm. But because at the time I wasn't well educated on any of what they were doing, but it was cluing me in that my whole society around me knew something was up and they were doing something about it. So it's helped me a lot.
Yeah. Okay. And Ty, how about you?
Well, I think Nora kind of gave a rundown of what happened. Basically, I was very much asleep or half awake most of my life, mostly asleep. And then about 10 years ago, I had a very deep, almost violent awakening, dark night of the soul with some targeting and stuff like that. So I went from kind of asleep to extremely awake. All my senses were open. I'm seeing spirits and stuff. And I had witnesses, so I couldn't pull the crazy card on myself.
No.
Like, oh my God, there's that thing there. And she's like, oh, that thing that went in the corner. And basically I was like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of confront the spiritual, mystical, and quantum side of life. And I did confront that because I was very irritated about being so misled for decades. So yeah, we ran away from LA, landed on a mystical island, started intuitively training ourselves because we're getting a lot of downloads, doing a lot of clearings automatically, but getting attacked back. So basically, I asked Source, which I had figured out by that time, hey, if you want me to be a clearer, I need a system that's going to be clean enough for me to work. And within a few weeks, Chris's videos came to me and they were saying all the same things I was researching. And so Nora and I looked at the videos and said, hey, this might be our guy.
The universe responded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a miracle that came in, and when we saw him and we did our first, was you did the first healing, we knew that we found the right person, we knew that we found the right system, and if after that it's just been great, just magical, and it's opened so many doors and closed so many portals.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you guys are one of Chris's first students as well, right?
I believe so. I never formally confirmed that, but we did get the system before it was released. So I just contacted him, and he had made a video saying, hey, I'm going to do the system. And I just immediately contacted him and said, send it to me now. So he did.
Yeah.
So right around the first or maybe second student. And we've been working at it really hard since then. So it's a good 7-8 years now, maybe. Something like 7 years.
Yeah. And do you have your own spin on true quantum healing, or do you like to incorporate other modalities into it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we I mean the important thing about true quantum healing is it's a framework, and you can stay in that framework, but you can add your own wisdom to that too. So if you were doing Chinese medicine, you could add that in. If you're doing anything really. So we have we're researchers on our own right, so we've incorporated our knowledge of esoteric. We don't practice esoteric arts, but we know a lot about it. And our knowledge of entities and spellcraft and frequencies and tools. So we've been able to incorporate that. And I've created my own. So True Quantum Healing, you get 2 books, generally speaking. And then I added a 3rd one that I use. And that's mostly all my research with which is heavy on spells.
Entities.
And entities.
Of all walks of life.
Yeah. And speaking of spells, black magic, witchcraft, it's abundant in Hollywood, TV, media, and in the world around us. It's actually amazing how much is in children's movies. I mean, it's right there in our faces. So you're well versed in all of these. Do you have anything to share about your encounters with this from your research and your involvement with true quantum healing?
As far as like spells and media and stuff?
Or just in general?
Yeah, just in general, anything you'd like to share?
I do want to share something that a lot of people may not know, maybe they know now. So there's some of the religious or magical people say that Hollywood is the land of the witches. And but that's confirmed. Like if anyone is going to or tries to go to Hollywood to try to make it, and you don't know anything about magic, you will not succeed. That has to be done, and then it's a war. because everyone's trying to fill that position. There's not that many positions. Hollywood is an illusion, first of all. It's a concept. It's not a reality. It's what people make it. They're all illusions. So they're all creating an illusion of something.
Yeah,
So
even
a reality.
even the name Hollywood, I read comes from the holly tree, and wizards used to use the holly tree to do their magic.
Yes.
Yep, the sorcerer's staff.
This sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And even if you do train in some magic and you go, I can guarantee you're going to get your ass creamed.
Yeah, so people just usually sell their souls then to get their roles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you get manipulated into lifestyles and things that you wouldn't do, or you get manipulated into being harvested.
Prostitution, trafficking. Those are the gatekeepers, because there's a lot of, in Hollywood, there's a lot of gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And you have to surpass all the gates in order to get. If you're not in the bloodline and have not got into the covenant, the specific right covenant, you will not succeed. You will have small successes, but to get to the main top, where they're making all the money and all the fame, because money and fame is totally different. Totally different. You have to be part of the bloodlines, and you would have to join some kind of group system, covenant, whatever you want to call it. And they will reach out. Like a lot of them had reached out to us. It was incredible how many times we were asked to be in a group or an organization of some sort of magic. But these organizations, you have to pay out a lot of money.
Yeah.
You basically become a slave.
Yeah. And so all those actors and actresses that everybody looks up to and calls their heroes, they're very dark people then, right? To go along with this.
Well, I mean, yeah, or they are been fooled and they get themselves entrapped in a universe that doesn't benefit them and is not of source. So either one, really.
Yeah.
But it's not glamorous. I mean,
it's not.
Even at its best, you're sitting in a warehouse that's cold, waiting for your 5 minutes to be be filmed or something
for a second.
And so it's 14 hours of just sitting around doing nothing,
and some of them don't even get paid,
and there's a lot of that stuff
a lot of that is called exposure. So me as a quantum healer, would I go back and try to do that whole thing? Absolutely not, because once I'm in that territory, I've now compromised my entire soul. There's no way. Unless you're an independent filmmaker, right? Depends on who's also giving you the money for that film. Because here we go again, you're going into a contract.
Yeah. And there's lots of, I won't say lots, but there's certain people in music and entertainment that are moving away from Hollywood, and they're creating their own music outside of all the rituals, the contracts. Even I don't know if you're familiar with him, but a gentleman called John Paul Rice. He's separated from Hollywood. Yeah, he put out a video that went viral probably a year or two ago, talking about satanic abuse of children, pedophilia in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he's done lots of interviews since talking out against it. But people like that are going and creating their own production companies and making independent movies. So you just need the people to follow them instead of looking at the stars. Yeah,
it's very needed, because the whole thing is trash. Everything, I mean, as a female, my experience, everything was about sex. Like even just trying to go buy a piece of fabric for my dance company, it turned into about like a trade for sex. If I wanted to have a show at a specific restaurant, somebody would try to come up and do some kind of sex thing. It was always there. It was always lurking. I mean, I personally was not that type of person, but the people around me were. And so it was just insane. And then they all do the magic so they could try to get the roles and the opportunities. And it's just a mess. a
Oh,
hot mess.
wow. Yeah.
Hot mess.
Yeah, and at first you don't notice it at first because it has a glamour spell. So the 2-3 years it seems all kind of normal and okay and kind of glamorous, and you're kind of blinded by the lights. But as those 3 years wear out, it starts to creep up somehow, somewhere. The drugs start coming in, and then
Mhm.
the sex stuff, and it's weird, and it just starts getting creepier from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what people don't know, and I don't know, they're probably more informed now. um Prostitution, pornography is huge there,
Mhm.
huge. So they're always looking for that next hot guy, the next hot girl.
Yeah.
And they don't just do it like, oh, we're going to ask you. They try to go, oh, you're an actor, and then they try to starve you so you don't get the parts. You're not making the parts. You're not.
Mhm.
And did you already burn through all your money because you're running around from casting to casting trying to get something? And then somebody comes up and you go, oh, you need money for your rent? Just come with me and we'll hang out with so and so, and you'll get your rent money in that hour.
Okay. Yeah.
So they get a lot of kids like that. That's where
Yeah.
all the trafficking comes in.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's many different types of spells, black magic. I know you guys do a lot of different research. You have a vast knowledge on this. Would you like to share anything?
Well,
Where do we start?
Yeah, yeah. I'm leaving it open. I'm leaving it open because
well,
rather than a question.
spells, are intent. Everybody has intent, so that's a spell on one level. Um, Basically, when you're talking about black magic, you're using the power and frequency of other entities instead of your own soul. So, and there's a heavy price to pay for doing that, heavy price.
Mhm.
So, if you're on what we say the source side or light side, you're doing things to assist yourself and others, and it's coming from your own abilities. And usually, the dark magicians are really getting powers from ancient gods, demons,
Dead
jinn,
people.
whatever.
Mhm.
And you're kind of connecting with the abyss, and it's very unhealthy personally wise. After times you have to harvest other people's energy just to stay healthy.
Vampirism comes through.
And it ends up not being in the end, it doesn't work because you're depleted soul-wise, you're depleted materially, and then you have karma to pay. So, but there's a lot of different types of dark magic. There's lesser magic, which is really about neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, mind control, and then there's greater magic, which is where they're incorporating the actual spells, rituals, and entities.
Mhm.
So,
And the English language, of course, it's different to other languages. We
I
spell
agree.
words and words cast spells.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's involved in it a bit as well.
Well, I think one of the origins of the word England or English comes from angel,
Mhm.
because ENGL is Dutch for angel. Angel in Latin is dragon or serpent. So really, when you're speaking English, it's serpent speak or reptilian speak, and so I've always assumed it was a language made for certain types of spellcraft and
And war. To me, it's a very violent language.
Mhm.
yeah, you know, so you speak
Yeah.
Spanish, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay, the frequency of it, and
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah,
So
So-
also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
so I
I'll
mean,
answer.
since most of us in the West speak English, now you have a more of a responsibility to use it as best as you can and understand a lot of the word hacks, so you're not
Spelling to
yeah
yourself.
doing bad spells.
Bad magic. Yeah.
Like a good
Yeah.
example is someone says, I want an apple. Well, want means, so you're actually manifesting no apples.
Mhm.
So if you would love excuse me, love to have an apple. So maybe
Get
drink
some
water.
It's okay.
Excuse me.
I'm sure that's some good clean water as well, right, Ty?
We have some well water.
Yeah.
So so if you would love to have an apple, then you should say, I would love to have an apple. So these are just one of the millions of hacks in the English language.
Okay.
So
So
Okay.
then the spell, talking about being susceptible to spells and magic, why does that happen? People would go, well, you know, I did a million clearings and all this stuff, and I don't understand, where is it coming from? Well, what happens is a lot of people get conditioned. They get ritually abused. This is where we start coming into child pedophilia. That what's happening there, you know, when a child starts getting ritually abused. And a lot of people go, oh, ritual abuse, they have to wear the cloaks and the thing and the one. No, that kid could be daily being smacked in the face every day. You're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. That's ritual abuse. It could come in many, many forms. That person doesn't have to wear a cloak. They don't have to be a witch. So what they're doing is they're opening those portals. So now they're being conditioned to accept the magic, to accept the darkness, and to be that portal, that stargate for the demonic forces.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they become susceptible to mind control, to hypnotism, to warning commands, to commands, into any type of spell. So it's so easy for another witch to understand if that person has been ritual abused, how to attack the other person.
Mm-hmm. And hypnotherapy, it's you know, common these days. People say, you know, it helps them. What's your stance on hypnotherapy? Can it be used for good, used for bad, or is it just
therapy.
one or together?
I think it's good if it has a really good, clean person on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it can be okay, but if you have to know, I mean, in my view, the person has to be of source and has to have some good skills, because it's very easy to program someone with non-optimal or bad intent. So the absolute trust in your hypnotherapist is essential.
It's everything.
Getting a good guy that's trustworthy would be okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and not going too much into like the deeper programming where it would be hard to undo, like I think would be you know, beneficial. But we've done some pretty good hypnotherapists too. So
yeah, okay, that's good to know. Yeah, and you both are known for taking on some of the tough cases, and we see a lot of psychic attacks in clients. Can you explain to people who may not know what this is, what it is, how they can identify if they're under a psychic attack, and what can be done to stop it?
Okay, so the people that we are, the hard cases, we're talking about ritual abuse. People that when they were children, they got ritually abused and really hard.
Okay.
And so then this now, they're older, of course, and they as by condition bought all of the techniques to continue further them into the abyss. How is that? Like them in taking a magical practice that is not even of their bloodline, and that could actually cause more deeper problems. Accepting the chakras, doing yoga, so specific certain patterns and rituals and spiritual practices that because of the conditioning, they accept all these other things, and it makes it even more difficult.
Okay.
And so also they've accepted to utilizing really heavy drugs, because they say, oh, you're going to have a shamanic awakening and you're going to do ayahuasca and everything's going to be gorgeous, but they failed to see if that person had ritual abuse and some deep seated issues. And so then this person takes the stuff, and then they keep on administering what's not working. We keep on giving him more doses of ayahuasca and more doses of DMT and more doses of LSD. And so now they're opening even further and connecting further to the health dimensions. So
Okay.
those are the type of people that are the hard cases. We're talking about stuff like like pure insanity, where that person lost complete grips to reality. That person is so difficult for that person to even be present in this moment. You be talking to them and they start disassociating and they go straight into hell. And that's what we deal sometimes is very difficult, because what we're just trying to teach them to be present this time and space and this reality, because they get drawn out so far out into another universe that they have a whole reality that has nothing to do with this time and space.
Okay.
And then what, I don't know, was the other questions? There was other questions.
Yeah, how can people
Well,
identify if
psychic
they're
Oh,
under one?
psychic.
Yeah.
Well, for the average person, bad luck, misfortune, abundance that should be happening and isn't happening.
Opportunities.
Opportunities, just general,
Time changing.
just general chaos where things are way too chaotic.
Yeah.
Definitely unexplainable physical issues, energetic issues.
Patterns of people's behavior around them, like they don't want to help them, like nobody wants to help me cancel, right? Nobody assists, nobody's helping, nobody's giving. That somebody's in an attack right there.
So
and protection is like what would be protection? Like clearing and cleaning daily, oneself soul, oneself's thoughts, oneself's mind, of our spirit. For me, that's just cleaning, clearing, and being mindful that potentially something can be throwing some kind of vibe towards me. So I'm constantly like, no, I don't consent, not accepting it. What do you think?
well, for the average person, what would I tell someone or recommend? Let's see, the neutralization rings, a good orgone pendant of ours, some basic clearings, and teaching some people how to have some energetic boundaries.
Boundaries is everything.
Using true quantum healing commands, that's very effective. Finding the layer or the energy grid where the negative energy is coming in. That would be done during a true quantum healing session. So just basic dowsing and figuring out how to get it in, put that part into source, and going from there. So it's kind of individual, each person,
Yeah. And speaking of boundaries, a lot of people don't know how to set boundaries. No seems to be a very hard thing for people to say. They'll keep stretching and stretching and stretching themselves, and usually doesn't end up well for the person.
No.
That's from the conditioning and the ritual abuse.
Yeah.
Because they've lost to who they are and where they begin and where they end. So they don't understand that. They don't get, they've been fully indoctrinated into the systems of the demonic and the abyss. So they don't know where to start, where to go. They're a what we call a hotel, a living portal.
Yeah.
So
okay,
important, to know that where if somebody's listening right now and they don't understand why they're living in chaos, is so who are you aiding? Who are you abating? Who are you assisting? Where are you at in this time frame now? Are you in the astrals, somewhere lost, or are you here present?
Okay, and Eve Lorgan came out with a book, Alien Love By. Do you believe this is a real thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can you explain to the listeners what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, it's her work, so I can't, but from our interpretation.
Yeah, your interpretation, yeah.
Yeah, so like, again, ritual abuse, people that have been groomed to possess themselves for the demons. So, and the allying, you know, the what we call a agent, right? An agent, someone that comes into your life and misguides you.
And that person may not be consciously aware they're doing it,
No,
right?
absolutely not. Misguide them, and then, or they will send someone to fall in love with them. So then they get the wrong husband, the wrong wife.
Mhm.
And they're again being misled to that path. What is your?
Well, one when I started reading those books, I found a lot of keys and clues to random weird things that happened in my life. And you know, it was the first time I had ever heard about someone other than myself and Nora talk about the white vans, because that's hardly ever talked about.
In the past.
But you get a good idea how not only can people be manipulated in the physical realm, but metaphysically they can be drawn and manipulated into wrong relationships, romantic relationships. Both people can be manipulated, or one person's acting as the agent, whether they know or not. And it's very well described. And these are all from case studies. So these are all real cases that Eve has gone through. So it's a really good basic book. When people are spiritual and they have a lot of chaos, because if you hand them this book or her other one, the later one, The Dark Side of Cupid, I believe, it gives you a context of how much the spiritual realm can kind of
Manipulate, interfere.
Yeah. So it's a good starting point for a lot of self-knowledge and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So could it be somebody that keeps, you know, wrong relationship, you know, time after time after time? Would that be an example of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Or an abusive relationship?
Abusive relationship, any patterns that are negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, negative abusive patterns. But
Mm-hmm.
but her work is not just psychological, it's also the spiritual aspects of it too, and why it occurs. So you get a pretty good idea of how the dark side works and how it's affected your life. And once you know that sort of once you know something, then you can do something to stop it. And that's the important part.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in mystery, you can't stop anything. But if you know something, then you can stop it pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, so if there's somebody listening to this and they feel they're in a love-bite relationship and they really love the person, once they're aware, they can make different changes and maneuver out of that, or does the relationship have to end?
Depends.
It depends. Eve has talked about that if the relationship was, let's say, totally artificially constructed, there's no real basis there, then it will have to end. But if there actually is, which is rare, but if there is, some people have made it through it and actually created a good relationship after it.
Yeah.
But they gotta
know that there's a manipulation force in between them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what's your take on the whole love and light community? There's a lot of talk about the New Age movement being hijacked also.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you want to have to start a war with someone. I mean,
no, it's very controversial. In our podcast, we've covered some of it, but in our view, that
our experience,
in our experience, that when you're doing the love and light thing, you're only looking at one half of reality, and that is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is looking at the whole spectrum,
the entire thing,
and being able to appropriately react both when things are in source resonance and when things are in abyss resonance. So true wisdom would be able to react, observe, and have the ability to act in any of those fields. So the love and light community, generally speaking, in my view, seem to have been traumatized where they can't really deal with the darkness. And so that it doesn't go anywhere. And in fact, they will get a little antagonistic or hostile if you try to
Have them see something.
or you're even fixing it in your own universe. So
they can't do it. What was it that I said? Some wise person told me. He said when they do that, it's because they can't handle anymore. Their soul can't handle it anymore. So they will regress into almost a sleep state where it's like, oh, but if we just think of positive things, everything's gonna fix itself. And it's like to an extent. So it is also a trap, and it also is reality. Like, yes, if you think positive things, amazing things can happen. But if you don't look at that there's a wolf in the forest and he could potentially get you, and you're just going to be loving light, and you're just going to go, I'm loving light, so I'm just going to go into the forest, that wolf can still get you.
Yeah, and light isn't a cult property also. It's
Absolutely.
blind people and
Lucifer.
a shadow. Yeah.
Lucifer. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
So being well grounded in a maybe slightly positive realm is where I think it's a little bit more of a healthier place to be than totally blissed out, because then you're kind of blinded and frantic. The other thing that's kind of a misconception about the love and light crowd is that the darkness can't eat positive vibrations. And there is Tim Refat. There's these high-level sorcerers that teach you online how to eat good.
And matter of fact, what one of their hacks is that they will eat your goodness, and then they will give you their evil. So their sin, their darkness, their dark parts, the parts people don't like about them, they will exchange it to you, and you won't even know, unless you'll start realizing it when you fall out of integrity, and then there's people don't want to hang out with you, or nobody wants to give you an opportunity. You start noticing it. Oh, why is this happening to me? But if you're in the love and light, you're not going to know, because evil doesn't exist. So
so there's like there's a better way to do things, I think, are more grounded in source, that it doesn't have to be in either polarity. And so there's always a third option, which is usually the better one. When you're in duality,
oh god,
there's love and
magic.
There's love and light, there's the darkness, and then there's the correct source way, in my view, which is a little bit more holistic and grounded. So that's about what I can answer on that one.
And you mentioned manifestation. There's popular books like The Secret out there, but what is the correct way to manifest, in your view?
Oh gosh, that's that's a big one.
Do you have 2 years?
Well, that's a tricky one, because
it's really tricky.
because your intention and how strong your soul is important. Being in a more resonant light frequency can be important too, but there's black box technologies. There's been 200,000 years of a culture, we'll call it the Anunnaki, that have developed systems to make sure that you do not manifest very well. There are a lot of things that can block, both when you're not working on yourself internally, but also externally. So identifying where the block is and then doing the manifesting is usually, in my view, a more effective way of doing it. The law of attraction should work very well in a nice universe. But the most simplest hack we found is that the polarity gets reversed. And I'd say over 50% of people have the polarity reversed.
It's so easy to do to people.
Yeah. So according to the law of attraction, if you're happy, you're going to draw in happy stuff. Well, for about 50% or more of the people, they get happy and they get smacked. they get bad luck or something like that. And that's just a simple little hack. And it's also easy to correct, where you can just flip it back to its polarities.
And that's something
So-
you do with true quantum healing. You just
Yes.
make the
Yeah.
change. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe Chris taught us about that. I remember in one of his.
I think that was an older one, yeah.
Yeah.
An older bit of
Mhm.
information. So basically, when you're trying to manifest something of source, a small amount of people can nail it the first time. Some people have to work at it, and some people are completely blocked. And where you are on that spectrum, if you're wise, tells you what your next step is. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You might have to
Yeah.
do some clearing. Maybe you have a contract or agreement. Maybe you have doubt code where you don't actually, in your heart of hearts, believe you can do anything, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's going to need to be dealt
And
with.
ritual conditioning and abuse, where you're constantly now abusing yourself with your own magic, and then you're manifesting evil and continuously bring the demons back and bring all this shit.
Mhm.
That's the thing.
Yep. So it can be a little tricky. I mean, there has been 40, 50, 60 years of new age prayer groups and world we call it meditations, group
Studies,
meditations and things. And yet the world just seems to be more chaotic right now.
It just keeps on
So
getting.
something's
Something's wrong.
something isn't working, and the wise person goes,
Oh,
well,
man.
well, it should be working, but it's not working as intended. So where is
What's
that
happened?
going on?
Mhm.
And so true quantum healing with your alphabet chart, your stressor charts and things, you can douse and try to figure out where the hack is,
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's something you probably helped a lot of clients with.
Yes.
We really try to
I'm trying to work on that right away, because there's a lot of self-inflicting damage that people can do to themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
but generally speaking, my goal is to get people from kind of living life like kind of like a human that is really just going along to get along, to someone who's what I call a source player, which
Mhm.
is they're living life as a source being, as a divine being, with all their abilities, all their wisdom, and all their knowledge
Responsibilities.
and responsibilities
Mhm.
enacted. And that's kind of the goal. So when you're playing at that level,
Better chance.
it's funner,
It's funner.
more magical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But also
that-
we forget about our source, our creator, right? We forget about that. We always have our agendas. And I want this and I want that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything in this weird sequence.
Mhm.
But then there's outside spirits, source, that are doing things, that are creating things. And we get in the way of that. And we think, well, I want the big mansion. But no, you're going to get the little tiny cottage. There's a reason for that. There's reasons for so many things that we overlook, that we don't want to see, that we don't want to accept. So it's what we want, but it's part of the conditioning, the Luciferian conditioning,
Mhm.
the demonic conditioning is like, I want to have the $1 gazillion with a perfect wife and the Ferrari with the big house. Like, that's all the demonic shit. Like, you're being glamorized into that world. Like, that's not peace. What it is, the most important thing is peace in your mind and in your heart. Like, that's what's important here, is in walking in peace and walking in love and compassion and being kind and creating the miracles in that thing, not in this selfish thing. So anyways, just
Okay, and you teach people to be a source player. This is something that you can coach people through, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, from what we've known, and at this point, we've talked to thousands of people, many thousands of people, and we've seen what works and what doesn't work or partially works. And we've tried to get some skills and things for people to try. And we're not pushing a spirituality or a religion or anything. We're giving people skill sets that they can test themselves. And if they work, great. If they don't, that's fine too.
Yeah, it may
But-
not work for everyone.
But yeah, we try to give people some skills to play the game at a higher level with more abilities and more wisdom and more source resonance in their heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the knowledge that has been kept from us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't think all the knowledge, that's impossible. But
Yeah.
but a
Some
little,
of it.
Yeah.
enough to get you by, because I mean, we would have to spend 10 years, maybe 20 years. But it's just, and there's also so many innovations, you know, people are constantly innovating technologies, coming up with new spiritual things and hacks, and it's just nonstop,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay.
And then they have money too, so they have a lot of money to come up with things and create things, and we don't have those opportunities. We have our knowingness. That is like all we really need, is our knowingness that we can overcome all wicked and all evil.
Mhm. And a lot of people talk about ascension. Can you talk about some of the traps to ascension?
No, thank you. Yeah, there's so many.
Gosh, that's a real big.
It's huge. Yeah.
I think in the esoteric arts, in their own wisdom, what's up above is no good. That is the abyss. It's kind of inverted. So when people are ascending, I kind of go, maybe that's not the best description. I know it's a
Right,
metaphor,
right.
Mhm. Yeah.
but so I like to tell people you're ascending, but also becoming wider, deeper, and more inward towards source. So it's like the seven classical Native American directions. So it's raising, going deeper, going wider, and going more inward at all at the same time. But ascension, I know some people think there's like you're gonna flip to another dimension where there's different colors and angles and
you
things.
can. It's
You can.
possible. I mean, we have experienced really different dimensions and places and situations and things like that. But when people are obsessing about that, I feel like that's a trap. We're like, well, I haven't, ascended, and I want to. It's like, I feel like when somebody's going into that, I feel like, warning, you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
That's
So I
just-
think
that's how it
ascension
feels for me.
primarily is an internal experience first and foremost, and then it may manifest into different
Outwardly,
aspects of realities and stuff like that. But I think when people are talking about ascending to the fifth dimension, well, that could be possible, but you got to do it internally first,
Mhm.
in my view.
Yeah. Okay. It's a great
So-
description.
I feel like it's part of like another rat cage. Like you're just going from one to another what's it called, limited hangout,
Okay. Yeah.
but it's not that I don't believe in ascension. It's not like that. It's just that what people talk about ascending is not how I can describe it, or what is my point of view. It is so completely different, and I feel like the whole ascension thing is just another rat box to keep the rats happy.
Could be.
So
Mhm.
a hack, like another form of obsessiveness, like twin flames,
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
So
And we live in a mind control planet. How easy is it to mind control humans? We deal with it a lot in true quantum healing and all the different layers. So
oh
Can you-
yeah.
Oh,
Talk
it's
about that.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's so easy. It's not even funny.
Well,
It's just people can even do it with just signing.
there's
It's just insane.
just in media, if you notice the media now, they're using very bold, almost neon colors of purple, blue, and red. Those have meanings. There's all these stuttered little circle shapes that have a little break in the circle, and they're going in counter measures, and that's on most of the news channels.
And that's a form of magic.
And if you learn, if you go to an advertising school, like you get like a master's in advertising or something, they will teach you all the meaning of sound, color, frequency, and wording to get the consumer to react in a specific way. So
Emotionally.
they teach people mind control in the university. Just
Wow.
it's called advertising.
Yeah.
And so these people, when you see something that's black and gold, it has a specific shape, or white and red, and
black and white,
you know, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
And certain frequencies have a specific reaction in your nervous system.
Words, if the way it's worded, you know, the way it's just
and so people are taught what the word technology, color technology, the shape, frequency technologies, so they're more easily influenced by it. Now, if you actually read about it, study it,
educate yourself,
and put in your consciousness, then it's less likely to go into your subconscious and affect you. So while it's a difficult subject, if you start getting some basic ideas of what neurolinguistic programming is, shape, color, and frequency, you'll be less likely to fall under their spell, you know?
Yeah, and they use a lot of symbols, symbolism of the sun, you know, the Shell logo, McDonald's logo. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also, because some of these symbols have been around hundreds, if not thousands of years, the meaning and intent has been almost embedded in the ether here too, right?
Absolutely.
So there's almost a magical, no, it's not almost, there's a magical frequency coming off of these as well that have an effect on people as well.
Absolutely.
And sacred geometry has an effect on consciousness, good and bad sometimes.
They're almost like a technology, really.
Yeah.
A symbol can be converted into a technology. It depends on how you set it up, and then you
like
approach
sigil magic.
Sigil magic. It's like a technology, and you could program that sigil, and so every time somebody watches it, it can multiply its power. It depends on how that person, that mago, that magician, decided that they're going to set that up, you know, for that person, and then it's an algorithmic system that could be running each time more, even deeper and deeper. So
and then they use repetition, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a big push on a digital reality being created around us. How is technology being used to shape our reality? So technology, AI.
Well, that's a real big subject too. Well, first of all, our nervous system is electromagnetic. You know, we have electricity and we have electromagnetism in our cells, DNA, and all that stuff. And they've purposely created a very weird right angle, unnatural energy grid and ride frequencies on that. So that affects the human being's consciousness, which you can easily test. Do you feel boxed in and anxious when you're in the middle of a city, or when you go out into the forest? Do you feel more relaxed, expansive, more in touch with source? You know what I mean? So that's one aspect of technology. Circuit boards. You know what circuit boards look like, right?
Yeah.
So I found this circuit board design that was from the 16th century that was actually an Enochian black magic calling board for the Watchers. So apparently circuit boards are a type of sigil magic. It is associated with the Watchers or the Enochian angels, which are demons. So I find that very suspicious. Circuit boards are also known to cause scalar waves in a blue frequency, which is a psychic field. So that creates a psychic portal for a lot of people, a lot of technologies. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, we could go on.
It's
with
just
that.
another soul trap.
And then
Yeah.
with the AI and artificial intelligence being bound to that, and people touching
The phones,
cell
the cell phones.
phones, you know, it's like you're touching a little portal.
It's like consenting. It's just
Yeah. And these people who make these technologies, I have worked at for a year, well, about 20 years ago, I worked at one of the most famous, you know, computer companies on the planet. And besides the really high level computer programmers, the other highest paid people were psychologists. So everything they do with a cell phone operating system or computer operating system is all based on gaming theory and psychology and all sorts of
to
stuff.
create addiction.
Yeah, so they're really
gotcha.
They're really not here to help us. I mean, but we've become not. I'm saying we, but many of the people on the planet become needy of this technology.
Slaves.
So it's
like what, a couple $1,000 to get a phone now? The hell? It's just really?
Yeah.
So
wow.
And you're pretty strict about the technology you allow around you, right?
Yeah.
You know, cell phones,
well,
5G.
well,
yeah.
About 10 years ago, when we went through the dark night of the soul, we also got a lot of
tested. We got tested.
Well, we got, let's say, a lot of negative computer attention.
We got tested.
And cell phones got hacked. I mean, we got problems with social media. I mean, the whole gamut.
Surveillance. It was crazy.
And I was a network administrator as well, so I knew a lot about networking and security. So I thought, and then I figured out, oh, I know nothing about computer security. So they, I could connect to and get my devices influenced in the middle of the desert with no cell phone towers, miles away from everything, and I could get a wireless connection as if there was a wireless router right next to me. I mean, doesn't so there's a lot of technologies that these companies embed in the motherboards and things like that. You have no idea what they do, and they have, you know, spiritual consequences sometimes.
Absolutely.
So we backed out of the technology a lot, and then we went slowly back in and tested how things could work for us.
Yeah.
And then also creating boundaries on what your device on a quantum level can do and not do for you. So you are
not just allowing it to control you.
Yeah, so exactly. So instead of it being a overriding force in our lives, we're very careful and we use them as tools and, you know, do that. But the wireless technology we don't deal with because I was so sensitive about 10 years ago to EMF. I could actually hear the white noise in my ears, and it was kind of physically painful. So I don't miss it all. So we do everything wired. Except maybe on the road once or twice a year. Maybe I'll hook up into a wireless thing, but I also protect myself. I have anti-EMF devices and or orgone. I have rules on my desktop of what my computer can be used for, what they can't be used for. So I go into the matrix with wisdom and knowledge of how it works and try to use it as best as possible, where the average person basically uses the technology as worse as possible.
No, the technology is using them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but wireless technology is really, really rough right now. I mean, with the 5G, 6G, 7G, 7.5G, and now I've heard about 9G. It's really an anti-life, negative life force, deadly orgone frequency is kind of poisoning the environment, you know?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. And I just became aware that they have cell phone towers in the ocean. They're going to have every square.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So,
No.
so you have this electromagnetic frequency blasted in salt
So
water,
bad.
which is a
Mhm.
battery. And I'm kind of wondering if the powers that be don't understand that's probably going to diminish the quality of life in the ocean, if not kill a lot of it off. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know, it's so, yeah, it's something, it's a, the sad part about this is that wireless technology can be made safe
Mhm.
without creating negative EMF things. There's actually scalar versions and some other stuff. There's patents from Germany where there's actually cell phone technologies that are safe.
Yeah.
But we're getting a very
Dirty.
version of it.
Mhm.
And this is one thing I'll leave people with, because I know people love their wireless and they love that. Source and Mother Earth did everything it possibly could to remove radio waves and microwaves from the environment. It's very prevalent outside the atmosphere, but the Vallean belt or the firmament, whatever you want to call it, removed as much radio wave, microwave,
For us
terahertz
to
to exist here. So it's not supposed to be here.
not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Or why else would Source of Mother Earth remove it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
and you mentioned about the 5G and wanting it underneath the ocean. I came across a project that was funded by the US National Science Foundation. It's called CNEP project. So they want broadband wireless communication from anywhere in or under the sea.
Yeah.
That is
So,
just horrible.
yeah.
And that's really interesting. You want a blanket wireless network because how many people really are going to use it?
So
Couple of
what's the agenda
submarine
then?
people, a scuba diver here or
One
there,
person.
Mhm.
it sounds very suspicious to me.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the ocean kingdom, they're very psychic
Yeah.
and they're a force. Sailors have talked about forces before. That when they were trying to do something in the ocean, there would be a force that would come through and it would stop them.
Mhm.
So maybe they're trying to manipulate that force, harness that force, who knows? But the ocean itself is quite magnificent, and we don't quite understand what it is as a whole with the creatures in it. We don't quite, maybe there's some people that have a little bit of an idea,
Yeah.
but it almost seems like some kind of shenanigan to control it. I don't know.
Yeah. And even the dangers of 5G, I mean, that's nothing new, but yet they're holding off on rolling it out within 2 miles of airports. So what do you think's going on here? Do you think it's really, to protect people, or is there something else going on?
I'm going to quote my friend Tony, who
Tony Panteloresco.
we were just talking about either today or yesterday. 5G has been around for a decade, and they're really talking about 6G. So I think the way the media and people are talking about it's a little misleading, because I remember 5G towers going into LA on Highway 10 about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been around here now. Yeah, so there's something else going on, I think, but I don't know all of it.
Yeah.
But I would say it's more about 6G. 5G is very limited. The real 5G is about 300 yards, about as far as it can go. So 6G, which I think is in the terahertz range, has a different range. So and that's part of how they do things, is confuse subjects. So you don't know if you're talking about 5G or radio waves or 6G. Just keep the subject confused so people don't really know what to address.
They don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just to
So
confuse people.
yeah.
Yeah.
But is there something going on? Yeah, I do think something's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Control, manipulation,
Yeah.
nonstop. Yeah. Like you're wondering what's going on in the world. Control and manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah. Very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to those awake.
Yeah.
And we've been operating on this planet as if the main form of energy is kinetic energy. But the main form of energy, it has been hidden from us, which is life force energy, chi or orgone energy. How can people harness this energy? Like tap into this orgone energy, the natural energy?
Are you talking mechanically or spiritually?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you're both masters when it comes to making
Oh,
orgone.
gosh.
Maybe
Well-
talk about your creative process
Well,
of creating
yes.
orgone and.
well, definitely, orgone is just another word for prana or chi, ode or vril energy. There's lots of names for it, but it's life energy. And certain objects, locations, and technologies can help generate it. And then there's certain technologies that take it away, and that's called deadly orgone. So that's a door that's from a name Wilhelm Reich had called that. So that would be a cloud of stuff that actually sucks your life force out.
Yeah.
Cell
So
phones.
so cell phones, a lot of electrical
Microwaves.
appliances, microwaves will suck your life force out. And
Mhm.
so as far as like if you're living in the matrix, in an urban environment, having some orgone, plants will help. The orgone, at least ours does, draws in either good or bad orgone, filters it, and then emits it at a higher frequency with source programming. So basically, it's like an air filter for ether. Make sense? So that can help keep life energy a little higher in your environment. Big trees, the ocean also help with cactuses, help with life energy. There's certain electronic devices that you can find too. You have to do your research because there's some bogus ones and some legit ones.
That will help you with that.
Yeah, and you create beautiful pieces of orgone as well. It's the highest quality. That
thank you.
yeah, I mean Chris has it in the pendulums. This is the pendulum.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple actually pieces off you as well. Can you talk some about your orgone, like what you put into
Sure.
it and
Sure. You wanna
Yeah.
should I start? Or?
Go for it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so like all things, we have our own little spin and take on it's called orgonite, but that's a little bit of a
orgonite,
contentious name because someone feels they own that. So we call them orgone technologies, orgone pyramids. So you just put up a orgone charging plate. So that is some copper, it's called magnet wire, but it's basically a type of copper. And there's a receptive direction of the coil and a broadcasting to the coil. So that helps generate basically a vortex of in and out, and that filters the energies through the piece. And then the metals, it's basically the technology is to play between carbon and metal. So that's Wilhelm Reich discovery. You put something with layers of carbon and metal, the carbon will attract the orgone, and then the metal will either repel it or make it go through. So you can have it accumulate and draw orgone to it. So we use about 10 different metals of very high quality, and each has its own frequency. So there's iron oxide, which is really good for drawing orgone. We have copper, nickel, silver, different types of brasses and bronze, a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, monatomic gold, and we have a little ruthenium in there now.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful, right? Ruthenium.
Right, so all these metals have, we'll say, multi-dimensional qualities in addition to helping draw in and create the orgone. And then, so we're using like the most amount of metals than most people make orgone. And then we have a special crushed powder mixture we make that we've developed over the course of nearly 10 years. Every year we've added a little bit more and more, but they're high resonant crystals, protective crystals, rare crystals, and some base grounding ones, and with some cleansing herbs as well. So there's a little sage in there. There's
Cedar.
Sacred cedar. We have monatomic gold. We have colloidal gold. We have silver. We have
Anti-parasitic.
sometimes you're doing that. You know, there's some let's say pyrite for grounding, a celestite. We have some rare Namibian Brandenburg quartzes, which are good for protection and anti-alien stuff. It's both high resonant, low resonant. So there's about 40 of these ingredients, and that gets put on there too. And then let me this over. So for the charging disc, that's the whole, we call it the super energy layer. And so for this is the bottom layer of this piece.
I'm just going to direct you so you could.
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then this piece has the fun stuff. So there's a little bit of phenakite there, and maybe some other pieces will have more artsy stuff. You know.
Okay.
So to make it look a little fancy.
Yeah, and this will protect people from entity attacks. Help ground them.
It will, and so besides the frequencies of the positive orgone and the different crystals in the powder, we also use radionics, crystalline energy tools, and other techniques to program
and
these.
Embed.
So we have about 50 source or heart resonant programs or frequencies that we have, and that we use about 19 devices. So we spend a lot of time embedding frequencies in there.
Yeah.
So that it will have there's programs to keep entities away, programs to keep you connected to the source, programs to
abundance.
Yeah, to be a source of abundance, that sort of
Source
thing.
connections, yeah, a whole bunch.
So all very, very nice, very clean, very nice intentions are put in there to
and when we even start contemplating making it too, we also try to get into that space so we're not putting in some dark intention in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some ancient gosh, there's a long story, some real actual ancient light library crystals that we use to make the orgone in. So we have grids of very unique special crystals. Some of them are light library stuff.
Is that the Lemurian grid? I think I read about on your.
Yeah, well, no, we have some Lemurian crystals that are programmed. We have some
special crystals.
We have some special
that
crystals
we take into some special megalithic rocks or stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and
where we downloaded a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and
you put music in some stuff too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And we
Tibetan healing bowls.
Yep, we do that. We have Tesla plates. We really go overboard on charging these things, and I think we've been making them for well, this year be 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never had anyone say who's energy sensitive at all go, oh, these aren't doing anything. Most of them are like, wow, what's this energy? You know, it's very noticeable. So so for protecting yourself on a physical etheric level, supporting your balance, your source connections, I think these our orgones, you know, different and really good tool for people.
Yeah, it's something that people can carry around with them, the pendants and some items like that too, right?
Yeah, pendants are great, especially if you're going around, you know, you're doing shopping, going to the post office. going to work and stuff.
Yeah, going to work.
For the home, there's a lot of different styles. Some have, all of them have the basic ingredients, but some are look more pretty and aesthetic. But the real workhorse is the one you
Like,
just showed.
The one you
Yeah.
showed, you know.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
you're gonna get more bang for your money on that.
yeah,
You can utilize that sort of like how you use your Besca Pisces or your triangle.
Mhm.
You can clear energies, you can put energies in. It basically turns out to be a healing tool or a magical tool. So it depends on how you're tapping into it.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
getting, I mean, like 30 or 40 different types of crystals in
Wow.
there. So you know, it's what you're going to connect to and how you're going to program it. Because you also, people forget to consecrate. Am I saying that correctly? Consecrate.
maybe.
So with the piece, they think it's the piece on its own, but instead of like really sitting there meditating and unifying themselves with the piece and then programming it, it creates a different relationship.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you can't use it for evil. I've programmed that.
You can't use it.
Can't
for
do
you.
that. That'll be bad.
Mhm.
Don't do that.
No.
Mm. There'll be some consequences, right? Source consequences.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to be in a source resonant intention to fully utilize it. There's a lot of other creepy tools out there. Go buy with those.
And you also offer different types of coaching and counseling. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
Sure.
What am I talking about? Well, we have where we do with in addition to the healings
Mhm.
for people that have just need extra assistance. So we would, in between the healings, we you know, we contact each other and then we just go through what that person's going through. So it's like update. So that person, you know, decided, oh well, I did all my commands but it didn't work, so do you have another angle? And so then I'll be like, yes, or Ty will say yes, use this, use that.
Mhm.
Or that person will say, I used everything and everything worked. And so we're just kind of seeing where that person, are they utilizing the tools correctly? Are they utilizing the commands correctly? What
Good.
worked, what didn't work? And then it just sometimes just they want to talk about their horrible day or their really good day. Some people just need to talk about it. Doesn't matter. You know, they don't care about if we're going to fix a problem or we're not going to fix a problem or they're going to fix a problem. All they want to do is just talk. And that's very healing for people too.
Mhm.
And then you want to say, and then you teach a lot about the occult esoteric stuff, right?
Well, I can, but you know, basically in the context of how to protect yourself, how to maintain your energy when you go out into the field. So you're very empathic, you're very sensitive, you don't feel good when you go out to your city or your grocery store. We can coach people in the best ways to maintain their energy so they're able to deal with the matrix better. A lot of people, especially people who are like severely, we'll say spiritually attacked, they clearing for them isn't always enough,
Right.
because they get into fear, doubt, and all this sort of stuff. Then they
Conditioning.
they start drawing this in, so we can coach them on better frequencies and attitudes and techniques to maintain their energy, so they're not being as inconvenienced.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's other things too. Like I know a little bit about nutrition, and I know a little bit about this and that, so I can you know, again, my good friend Tony knows more about nanotechnology than most people on the planet. So that's a big issue.
Yeah.
It's in the food, it's even in organic food, it's in organic vitamins. And so a lot of people have some spiritual and physical manifestations to this nano stuff. So I know enough to either get them started on detoxing or turning it off, or at least some of the references they can build their own technologies and things.
Okay.
So you know, true quantum healing is about 90% of what we do, but then we
Mhm.
try to have about 10% where we're kind of
doing other things to help them, because we get
Yeah.
the severe cases, so we're trying to do meet each angle. And also what I really notice is when it comes to people's diet, if they're just eating trash, sugar, carbs, just not taking good care of themselves, it creates a depletion in their brain, and their brain will actually start hallucinating and seeing more and experiencing more. And so that person, it's harder for them to get back to reality, because their health is already really bad with not consuming correctly, and that really affects people.
Mhm.
yeah, being more grounded.
Being more grounded, yeah, because if you're sitting there downing cokes all day, it's you're gonna get pulled to the eaters. If you're eating sugar,
Yeah.
that portal gonna be opening, because
Alcohol,
it's
drugs.
poison. Exactly, it's poison.
Yeah.
What happens when you eat poison? You're gonna hallucinate. You're gonna start seeing the other realms.
Yeah.
Try to teach people that, because they, a lot of the people, they've been conditioned to eat trash.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really difficult for them to go into a healthier food intake. Then it's so easy for them to eat trashy foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through quantum healing, you do a lot of research into entities. And can you explain a little bit to people about the impact of entities? Have you ever worked on a person where you haven't found an entity?
I'll
So
feel
if you can
that
talk
one.
a bit, pardon?
I'll feel that one. In my view, through all your lives and incarnations, I doubt most people have gotten rid of all their entities. And there's a type of entity that's not an entity, we'll call it thought form, but they're called tulpas or servitors or Grigori or something, but these are all types of thought forms. So most people have some sort of parasitical consciousness in them. Now, some people aren't driven by that, and they're mostly, let's say, operating in source, but they still have some of that there. I mean, I've never met a perfectly clean person. I've met very, very clean people, but not perfectly clean.
Yeah.
And
Chris is like the only one that gets pretty darn close.
so but there's also, there's different levels. There's minor thought forms, there's different types of etheric and astral parasites are very low level, and then there's jinn and very mysterious shadow beings that seem to have a little more power, and to being fully taken over by some sort of ancient god or high level demonic force that really, really takes you over completely and you're no longer yourself. So there's a lot of different layers and levels of it. But you know, yeah, there's a very huge amount of life in the universe that we can't see,
that we're not aware of.
If you look at the electromagnetic spectrum from what's the lowest frequencies, ELFs, or it's probably lower than that, but ELFs, extra low frequencies, all the way up to cosmic rays or gamma rays, we see like one little octave. There's at least something like 40 octaves that we deal with in this reality, right? So we're seeing only 1/40th of reality, and yet people are like, well, I don't believe in spirits. Well, there's countless people have figured out how to photograph them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays the kids are all into communicating with the dead and ghosts, and so there are a lot of people out there right now researching and trying to prove that these other things exist. Huge group of people now that are really just trying to prove it, trying to prove demons and everything. And I think it's really good, because it will open up the education for people, because if you understand that there is more magical people than you, and that there's beings that could be potentially manipulating, you will be ahead of the game already.
Yeah. Yeah, the world doesn't operate the way we think it operates, right? It's not a level playing field we're on, from what we're told. Yeah.
No, that was part of my rude awakening. I thought kind of mainstream ideas about the how reality worked, and then I figured out, oh, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
You know, and or it's the very most partially true. You know, so there's a lot politically, metaphysically, spiritually, energetically going on, but people have a very narrow view of what's going on, and
conditioning and mind control again, puts them back into that sleep mode.
Yeah.
As soon as they hear anything that is outside of what they know, it goes boom, they go into that deep dream of the house and the car and the girlfriend, desire, the desires.
Yeah.
Control us through.
And is there anything you're seeing a lot in your TQH recently? Any main energies you're coming across, or?
Yeah, I'll there's a couple of things. One, just a lot of emotional heaviness. This by design, the last couple of years has been designed to wear on the soul of most humans, and it's wearing really heavy. I've noticed a lot of erratic behavior. Just so a lot of people who normally wouldn't
anxiety,
be,
anxiety.
High anxiety, depression, heaviness. That's been very common. What was the other one? I just lost it. I'm sorry. I had the other one in my head. So emotions, chaos, a lot of chaos in people's lives.
Hysteria,
fear. This is the one. So what I've been noticing is that the parts a person has not been working on within themselves, let's say jealousy, fear, greed, one of the 7 deadly sins, lack of ability to control your energy or even protect yourself. The weaknesses these people have, that's where the matrix is exploiting them. I just had a session this morning. It's exactly what the person says. Like, seems like the system is going after all my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Which is in a weird way a good sign, because I think that means that the system is being more desperate. Like, it's just too easy to go at someone this way. But this is where true quantum healing can help, and some coaching can help, where the weakness you have and the system's going at you can work on that, and then know that once you resolve it to a certain level, the system isn't going to go at you that way. So,
or if they do, it's how you react to that command or that mind control, that manipulation.
Yeah. Some people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, some people, the past 2 years, they've been able to go through it pretty smoothly. And then there's other people who has been, roller coaster and crashes. And so, that depends on their mentality, how awake they are, how, where they are of mind control. So,
exactly.
What's your take on what this whole CV show is about? What do you think is the end game?
Well, I mean, it's a hot topic, and Nora probably have a couple of controversial views, but control,
manipulation,
control. And the other thing is, no matter where you are on what you think about, the jabby jabs or the pathology, the main theme for the last 2 years has been fraud.
Yeah.
Just complete utter fraud. Like, no matter what someone says it's not correct, and then you can find there's some money being exchanged, or
Some people are making bazillions.
you know,
of
and so
Billions of dollars.
yeah, it's very fraudulent, even
Super
what's being
fraudulent.
presented to the public, and a lot of the public unfortunately believes it. So
Mhm.
but it's very controversial about what's going on. Is there virus, is there not virus? I mean, it's all this
Yeah.
weird stuff, and maybe another time we'll talk on our podcast.
Yeah.
We'll invite
Yeah.
you to our
But
podcast.
but in general, there's nothing really authentic going on. You know what I mean? This is not of source. I mean, it's really not.
It's been
And
happening for a long time. They've been
and-
manipulating us with different types of
Yeah.
things like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
It's
we
not the
just not
first
going to
time.
forget cancer,
But-
for instance, you know, that's
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So if you can throw in the mix real issues with fake issues, create real issues that are coming from this direction, but people think are coming from this direction, and just generally create a layer of chaos, confusion, and uncertainty, then people
fear.
are really controllable.
Really
Mhm.
controllable. And that's the saddest part. Because I mean, we realize that the how easy people being controlled, manipulated. But with these times that just passed, now I could see, wow, like it's beyond
Yeah.
my imagination.
Yeah.
I was well, and it also is good for me to know too, like, okay, so now I can, instead of putting 10% people being manipulated and control, I could do 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
There's a
think
whole
that-
psychological agenda behind it as well.
Yeah.
Obedience training.
I think when
and-
humanity, being something you said earlier in the interview, at the point more and more of humanity learns to say the most sacred word ever, which is no,
No,
that will
no, I don't want it.
will just no to the
Everything.
way things have been presented.
To all of it. Just say no.
Yeah.
The whole system's corrupted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It needs
So
to be thrown in the
so just people being able to say no to things will be a big step in us returning to returning or restoring a reality that's more a source instead
livable.
of this
Mhm.
crazy parasitic matrix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Mhm.
we're in war, you know.
Pardon?
We're at war.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
big time. Yeah.
Mhm.
As
Yeah.
I say, the war in heaven has come to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, I don't consent to any of it. So
Mhm. Okay. And people can find out a lot about your True Quantum Healing. You have your own podcast, you have your own newsletter, you have, I think, Vimeo as well, right? Vimeo videos?
We have a couple of videos on YouTube, but we kind of keep those. We have some, for various reasons, we have things on Vimeo. We have a newsletter that we send out, you know, if we have a new podcast or some new orgone we made or whatever we want to say. We have a private mailing list, podcast. So what else?
Vimeo,
Vimeo.
YouTube. We have a little bit on YouTube.
Yeah, and but generally our website, checking out the store on there with the services and some of the fun tools, crystalline tools that we carry, but also our orgone, and then the podcast where we cover true quantum healing things, but also other things we're researching or timely things. We also cover a lot of phenomena because we're very tuned into phenomena, so that's a lot of fun for people to kind of understand that there's, you know, a lot of interesting, fun, or strange things going on. So we'll go into that. So the podcast is a bit different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's Ener-chi Wellness and it's on Podbean, I believe, right? I'll put
Yeah.
the links below as
yeah,
well.
Ener-chi Wellness at Podbean. Yeah, Ener-chi Wellness, Podbean.com. Ener-chi-wellness.com is our website.
Yeah.
And the Vimeo, I think, is vimeo.com Ener-chi Wellness. But all those links are on our website as well, and I think usually on our Podbean somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And on your podcast, you go through a lot of clearings that you do in True Quantum Healing, and I believe you send them out in your newsletter, free clearance for people.
We
Right.
do.
That are signed up to your newsletter, yeah.
Yeah, so we have about, say, 7 to 10, 5 to 10 minute clearings that there's a general clearing and a couple other things.
Mercury retrograde.
So we send those out to our newsletter people. The only thing about our newsletter is we're getting an AI robot that just signs up hundreds of people a day.
Okay.
So the newsletter form on our website isn't the best way to do that, because they have to figure out if you're a real person or not. It's very hard to do. So if you just use contact one or one of our other email us, like the message form on our website, say, hey, I want to be on your mailing list. That'd be the easiest way to do that.
Okay, and for those that want to book a session with you, what's the easiest way to contact you?
Through email.
Okay.
And usually we just arrange something informally, but you can also go to the site and, you know, pay for a session, whichever layer level you want, and then I contact you usually within the day, and we arrange a session. I have a lot more availability 7 days a week in mornings, nor has a specific time frame. So and things shift. So we'll just arrange a best time. We use Skype, phone, and Zoom.
Okay. Okay. That's
And,
great to know.
Yeah. And then if people are financially challenged, which I do that, then you have to contact me and we'll work out something. We try not to turn people away. I mean, within reason, you know what I mean? But
Okay.
so if you don't go to the site and purchase it, if you contact me directly, maybe you can work out a trade or some sort of fair exchange that the person can afford. So we've been known to work with people like that.
Okay. And you offer sessions individually and then both together, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty interesting, I'd say. Do you both dows, or do one of you do
We
something
do.
different?
We both douse.
My intuitive abilities are kind of, I have a hard time describing, and I don't have a lot of names for them. And Nora has a lot more of the classical abilities, clairvoyance, and these sort of things.
Okay.
So together, like sometimes I can see an entity on someone's aura, sometimes I can't. She'd be more likely to. So some people like to say, hey, what do you see on my aura? Well, that's not really my skill set normally. With her, that'd be easier, right? So when we team up together, there's a little bit more of a two different slight takes on true quantum healing. Makes sense? So yeah. So that's that. Also, Nora speaks fluent Spanish, so we could do sessions in Spanish.
Oh,
And I
that's
can
great.
translate if somebody wants to do healing with Ty. I can translate for for him.
Yeah, we've done that before too. So we can do the Spanish speaking world pretty well. And
you work on all sorts of problems, right?
You know, the universe, whether we like it or not, usually sends us some nitty and gritty stuff.
Yeah.
So, do you want to give us an example, maybe, if you can share?
Yeah, I could share one thing.
Okay.
Some people having babies from astral sex.
Okay.
Some people, I mean, it gets pretty intense. Some people getting astrally raped.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing.
It happens a lot with women because especially the single ladies, they start getting enticed in the astral world to start astral traveling, and that's where they meet all these other sexy characters. So it
never goes well.
And then never goes.
So a lot of entity attachments and problems in there.
We've definitely done some sessions where usually things go, when you're removing an entity, usually goes really smoothly. But we've had people hissing and speaking in reptilian tongues
Changing, yeah.
before.
Oh, wow.
Their eyes changing from normal to like a reptilian, and projections, like it's just really out there, some of the stuff,
Mhm.
you know.
So that,
People getting poisoned by ayahuasca and then they cannot not stop seeing an entity.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We hear a
doesn't
lot.
happen to everybody, but it does happen
It does
enough.
happen enough.
And if
Yeah.
it happens to you, it's
It's the hardcore.
that's hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So no
And
matter
then-
what, go
oh,
ahead.
go on.
No,
Oh,
go
we
ahead.
do get occasionally people, they,
Simple things,
Yeah, simple.
emotional stuff. Like my grandma said something mean to me, and I'm like, okay.
yeah, or have a headache, have a rash. I mean, we do stuff like
We
that
do
too.
simple
But the
things.
universe really does send us like people who really don't have a lot of other options. And a lot of healers won't touch what we would. They're
Mhm.
it's just either it's just too intense for them or too distasteful. So people will come to us and go, none of the healers will even
Talk to me.
talk to me or try to
They
work
say
it.
I'm crazy or something.
Right. So we try
We
to
try.
we try to help those people out because they don't have a lot of chances
have
on this
nothing.
planet. So we try to
Some people don't
give
have
them a
it.
chance.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
So-
mean that we can heal everyone either. I mean, sometimes we just like bang, done, that person's healed, and sometimes it's like, we're there for some emotional support because
Yeah.
nothing is gonna comfort them.
Yeah.
And it's with other true quantum healings that are studying, you will come to that bridge. Eventually you'll be like, wow, I can't heal this person, but that person's benefiting from us having these conversations, even these healings, and so they don't feel so lonely because they have no one to talk to. They can't trust anyone else because if they trust someone else, they're going to think they're crazy or they're going to want to put them away.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not an ego thing, like, for the new quantum healers out there, don't take it as the ego thing. Take it as like sometimes just being there for someone is enough.
Mhm. Yeah. And for anybody here that is listening, if you're going through different problems, psychic attacks, they may not know. People feel suicidal, they're stay quiet, they don't tell anybody, they think they're going crazy, they're hearing voices. What do you have to say to people like that, and how you can help them with true quantum healing and your other coaching services?
Well,
Number one rule:
right.
don't listen to the entities.
In my view, this is my opinion, most of the time you're having suicidal thoughts and extreme amounts of negative internal dialogue, that is an entity. And the normal modalities, in my personal view, don't seem to be very effective in getting that stuff to shut up. So doing true quantum healing gives you a chance, whether you work with that modality or not, it gives you a chance to get out of it quicker and faster, in my view, in my opinion.
And enough to see the difference.
Yeah, so
that is not you, because the entities can really fool you to thinking that it's your voice, it's how you're feeling, what you're thinking.
So what's labeled as crazy, in my personal view, because I'm being cautious here, is really a spiritual or metaphysical attack or illness. It's not so much, in my view, something's wrong with your brain. And I could go into a 3-hour talk about that, and I've talked to Jerry Marzinski, and I mean, we can go into, that's a whole other rabbit hole, but generally speaking, if you haven't chosen the mental state you're in, there could be things influencing you. And that's where we would come in to address it, help identify it, and give you some skills.
Yeah.
Fair?
So that's good for people to know. And what other problems do you usually deal with as well? What do you see a lot of?
Problems with EMF.
Yeah, a lot of problems with EMF. Trying to think. Just a lot of fear on just even existing. which is really sad.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The conditioning is so deep that it even is like incarcerating people inside their own home. They don't want to even be a part of reality. It's too scary.
Yeah.
But dealing with that, and trying to remove all that fear. And lately I've been trying to remove the belief. How we get into these beliefs that I believe that entity can hurt me, or I believe that there's an entity that's gonna come and stab me, or like trying to like remove that as a spell. Because belief is everything. Sometimes you that could charge your manifestation. So you're believing, that you're, it's like a knowingness that entity has power over you. So severing that, removing that belief, so that person can gain back their power, and in place saying, you can't hurt me. So just changing that vibe for people.
Okay. And is there anything you'd like to share with people before we go?
Yeah,
Any messages?
Stop listening to the demons, number one, and you'll be successful. Because if you listen and you stop and listen, then you're now consenting. So try not to allow it to manifest. Try not to allow it to just even be a part of you. Like, get out of there, do anything to ground yourself and be part of this reality, and come to this consciousness. Like, be aware, be awake. Don't let them take you into the astrals. Don't go into the astrals.
Ty, have you got anything to share?
I would say, most of humanity has been disconnected from source, and I don't mean this in a religious or a spiritual way even, it's just a fact. So I would love for more people to meditate and go internally and figure out what that is for them, and try to connect to that source of perfection, heart resonance, benevolence, and all that stuff, because a lot of people are connecting way too much to this abyss frequency. So
too much.
So that's your homework. Connect to source.
Connect to source.
Okay, Nora, Ty, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And
thank you. It's been good.
And the contact information, your website, all your links, I will include them below in the video as well.
Okay.
You guys are great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You are too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having a talk with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Come to our place so we can talk more.
Yeah. And I'd love to have you back again sometime.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep, anytime.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.